Good morning. Happy January. As my good friend Brian Carter always says, happy Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'm happy to see you all here. This is the annual winter workshop series for the Hostos Student Leadership Academy for 2023. This is just about our 14th go around. As I was mentioning before coming on the video, we used to do these in person, and obviously the pandemic has limited our ability to do that. We do hope to get back to that point at some point in our future, but that being where we are is where we are, and this is how we're going to work this. We want to make sure that we continue to provide these resources to you wonderful folks who are joining us, and to give you these wonderful presenters who are coming to you this week. I'm always excited about this. I didn't sleep very well last night, so if my eyes are a little blurry underneath these blue blocking glasses, I apologize. My name is Jason Lipfeld. I run something called the Hostos Student Leadership Academy. This program is open to not only the members of our group, but students across our campus, as well as the students who come from CUNY institutions who are aspiring leaders as well. We have always made this open to the entire community of CUNY because we know that some people are looking for something to do in January, and we want to give you some inspiration and some good stuff to take with you as you start your journey into the new year. All of that being said, I want to give you the best amount of time that you can get with my good friend Brian Rashid, who indicated that he's coming to us from Hawaii, which is why it's dark in his background there. Brian is an extraordinary individual with a full bag of skills, a great knowledge base, and some wonderful inspirational ideas on how to address your journey as you go along. His program this morning is something that he's done before in person at Hostos, and I think that it's going to be the great way to kick off this series of these 8 workshops over the next 4 days. So I want to thank you all for being here. Again, if you have questions, you can add them in the chat. If I don't get to them, you can direct them towards Elizabeth Soto or Kobe Jacobs. They're listed as co-hosts there on the top of the screen, and I have to make Brian a co-host here. And so please feel free to reach out to any of us if you have any questions about anything that's going on right now or anything that's going on over the next couple of days. That being said, I'll turn it over to you, my good friend Brian Rashid, and take us on the journey, my friend.
All right, thank you so much, Jason, and thank you all of you that are here this morning, I guess, in New York as well, and wherever you're tuning in from. I'll give you a quick background about my story and who I am and how I ended up here, and then we're going to jump in. We have a good amount of time today, and it looks like it's a 20 participants, so we got a nice intimate group, and we can really kind of have some fun, and it's going to be interactive. Like Jason said, if you feel comfortable in enabling your camera, it's always more fun than seeing the black screen, but no pressure to do that if not. For those that I see some familiar faces here. Good to see you guys, Brian, Elizabeth. I think that Kim's coming in here in a second. Whoever else I missed that I've seen before. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for spending time with me again. I always love seeing you guys. And so kind of a quick background about who I am, and then how I ended up here with Jason and Hostos doing these amazing workshops. So I'm an entrepreneur, but I was also legally trained. So I'm a proud CUNY grad. I went to CUNY School of Law at Queens College. And initially I had thought that I wanted to be in politics. I had aspirations to become the mayor of New York City. And so I graduated. Everyone said, go get a law degree if you want to be in politics. So I went and got a law degree, and I graduated. And when I graduated, I went to work for Mike Bloomberg when he was mayor of New York City. And initially I was running his reelection campaign to recruit volunteers up in Washington Heights and Harlem. And then when he won, he said, you did a great job. I want to keep you in the administration. What would you like to do? And I said that I'd like to stay in the administration as a speechwriter. And so I was paired up with one of his commissioners, where I did a lot of speech writing, storytelling, prep for city council, prep for congressional testimony, prep for all kinds of different things. And I really enjoyed it. But in my heart of hearts, I knew I was an entrepreneur. And so 11 years ago, I moved to California and I started my own business. And initially, the business was very similar to what I was doing with Bloomberg, which was helping people tell their stories, tech executives, startups that were raising venture capital, anyone that, wanted to recruit a team or sell a product. And that was really enjoyable. And I spent many years doing that. But then I realized that I had a lot of out of the box ideas for these people, and they were really resonating with my ideas. And they said, can you help us with these ideas? So, we're going to go through a lot of that today, but a lot of them were personal branding ideas, how to get yourself out there, how to get your name out there, how to share your story in a way that feels true, but also exciting. And so I started a creative agency and I moved back to New York, and I did the whole having an office, having employees down in the financial district of Manhattan. And it was exciting work, but I realized that I didn't enjoy managing a lot of people. And so I downsized again in 2019, and we went to a fully remote situation, but it was still, very much storytelling, video production, podcast production, social media campaigns, helping people with their personal branding. I was traveling over the world 6 months a year, speaking at conferences like this one, when they were still in person. And I realized that I love the idea of storytelling, and I love the art of storytelling. And I wrote for Forbes magazine, I wrote for Inc. magazine, I wrote for a bunch of different magazines. I got a Fulbright scholarship teaching film. But what I really loved was these one-on-one or 1-on-20 situations where I could consult people on, what do you want to do and how do you want to do it, and how can I help you in any way that I can through my ideation to build your own personal brand and to make your dreams come true. And I really started focusing on entrepreneurs, small businesses, individuals, organizations that had a message that I thought was beautiful, that wasn't being properly communicated or wasn't being properly identified by themselves. And so I guess, Jason, how long has it been? 9 years ago, I think, when I was doing these speeches, I was reaching out to people and saying, here, here's what I do. And Jason was one of the first people that said yes to this work. And Jason's a pioneer. You guys know about Jason. He's the best. He supports people that he loves in ways that you can't even imagine. And so he said, yeah, come on in. We got a workshop every Friday, a couple hours. Let's see how it goes. And we've been doing this together now for 8-9 years. And it's been really fun. And I always say at the beginning of these talks that I get to do this with people all over the world, and doing it with Hostos is definitely one of my favorite groups, because you just are so engaged and so scrappy and so smart and so hungry for knowledge and so hungry for execution that it's always just really special. So I'm excited to be here. I kind of travel around the world still doing projects, and I've been in New York for the last 6 months doing a project called Love Letters to the World. And it was actually started back in Uruguay. I got stuck in Uruguay in 2020 during the pandemic. I was supposed to be there for 1 month. I got stuck for a whole year there. And at the end of the stay, I wrote a love letter to the country of Uruguay that went totally viral. And I started this concept of love letters to the world. And I write people and places love letters. And so I've been in New York the last 6 months doing that. And I've also been shooting a documentary for CUNY School of Law. They have a big 25th anniversary of one of their programs coming up, and they hired me to do a film. So I've been shooting a documentary film, and that ended in January. And I decided that it would be nice to come and edit it and do a lot of remote writing from the island of Maui. So here I am. That's a quick story. And that's, the extent of which I'm going to talk about myself today. I want to use the rest of the time to really focus on all of you, right? And so since we have a small group, I think we'll go back and forth between the chat and then also some kind of sharing, via video and audio. So like I said, this is an interactive exercise. This is going to be I'm hoping it's going to be very fun. I'm hoping it's going to be very interactive. What I will say is this: the more you can participate in these questions, I think the better your experience will be. So let your guard down. don't worry about, sounding right or sounding knowledgeable, or if your ideas are crazy. There are no crazy ideas here. I'm a crazy idea guy. I love crazy ideas. So we're going to have some fun. So that being said, before we start, why don't we do this? Why don't, in the chat, and everyone has access to the chat, I'm assuming. When you think about the words personal branding, what words come into your mind? Just drop that in the chat for everyone to see, or at least for me to see, so I can get a sense of where you're at with what is a personal brand. What does personal branding mean to you? So let's just take a couple of minutes and have people drop that into the chat. When I think of personal branding, I think of what? Building your own legacy. Beautiful. Image, how you carry yourself, a person's character. Defining yourself, good. What else do you guys think about? Logo, good. What else do you guys think about? When you think about personal branding, the question for those of you that are just joining, when I think about personal branding, what words come to mind? Value as a person, good. What people know you for, exactly. Your identity, who you are. Beautiful. Okay, good. So the next question, and you can keep dropping these in as you think of them, is why are you here today? What are you hoping to learn, at the end of this time together? When we hang up the Zoom, what are you hoping that you've gained, that you've learned? Why are you excited about this? And here you can be as specific as you'd like, or as vague as you'd like. You could say, I want to start my own business and I don't know how to brand it. You could say, I just want to hear what you have to say. You could say, I'm looking for a job in finance and I don't know how to build a resume. Whatever your answer is perfect. What are you hoping to get from today? Just want to get a sense of that from you guys. Improve my communication skills. Strengthen and gain knowledge about technicalities of personal branding. Good. What else? Expand knowledge, motivation to take these skills to start my career. Good. To be able to learn something. Find the way to work on myself. Good. What else? What else are you hoping to learn? I install low voltage landscape lighting systems. I would like to improve my internet presence. Okay, that's great. Very specific. Dale, we may jam with you for a minute if that's okay. So let me know if that would be okay, if we could maybe use you as an example and sometimes during the day. Learn to build a brand. Okay, thank you, Dale. Knowledge and learn new things. Okay, good. So a lot of you just want general knowledge, and then there's some like Dale that want very specific, have a very specific goal around an internet presence, around something that's existing, right? An existing idea or existing business. So good. The last question I'll ask before we jump into some of the exercises is, what is challenging for you about personal branding? And that can be a couple of things. It could be why you haven't started a personal brand in general. I haven't started a personal brand because I'm scared of talking in public, or I don't know what I would talk about. Or if you have already started something, then what has been hard for you about it? So I'm interested in a kind of a frustration or a challenge that you have around personal branding. If you could drop that into the chat. My lack of knowledge, the way I communicate ideas is not as articulate and straightforward as I'd like them to be. Okay, that's good. What else? What else is frustrating or challenging for you guys? Not knowing who you are. Yeah, that's a good one. Afraid to lose, what venues to use. Susan, sure. The question is, what is challenging for you about building a personal brand? What is frustrating? What is hard and why you haven't done it or why you're not creative enough? Okay, that's honest. It's a story that you're telling yourself because you are, but we're gonna get into all of that. This is great. Connections and who's willing to give you the opportunity. Great. Speaking up is challenging. Scared to fail. I'm a very unserious person and would like people to take me more seriously. Okay, that's good. Afraid of failing. Yeah, afraid of failing is always a top, is a big one. Afraid of failure. All right, good. So I'm getting a good idea of where we're at. Okay. So now we're going to start the exercise. Okay. And thank you for participating and thank you for your input. This is really helpful. Really helpful. How many of you, and you don't have to write this in the chat, but we're going to take this in two different directions, right? Actually, you know what you can do? I think is there still that like hand raise button option? So raise your hand if you already have a pretty good sense of what your dream job or your dream project is. If you already, if you already know what you want to be doing, just give me a hand raise. Okay, 2 people, 3 people. Okay, so four people. And I'm assuming, so the rest of you, so put your hands down, that group, thank you. The rest of you, I'm assuming, don't know what you want to do yet, and that's totally fine. So if you're not sure, let's just test the waters here. If you're not sure what you want to do, raise your hand. Just want to see if it's generally balanced. You're not sure what you want to do. All right, so it looks like some people know what they want to do, some people don't know what they want to do, and there's a bunch of people that are not, that are somewhere in between. That's fine. So what we'll do, just to be able to kind of accommodate everybody, is we're going to do an exercise, but the first step of the exercise I'm going to do very quickly because the group is kind of mixed, and I don't want to spend too much time on either. So let's start with this question. And again, this would be helpful for you to drop this in the chat because I want to get a sense of where we're at and who I'm dealing with and what your passions are. So if you already know your dream project or your job or your dream passion, right? If you could drop that into the chat. So the prompt is, I already know my dream job and passion or project. And that dream job, that dream project, that dream passion, whether you want to start your business or want to get a job or want to start an NGO or wherever it is, what is that for you? What is that for you? Okay, good. Alyssa, I would love to be a screenwriter or someone in the creative field. Good. So take a moment. And I guess even if you don't know your dream job, even if you have no idea what that is, just dream for a minute right now. Let's do it this way. It'll be more fun. And think about what you might love to do and drop that in. So we're getting some good ones in already. Susan says, I've always wanted to work with kids in the foster care system. Fantastic. Delroy, learn law. Good. What else would you guys love to do? Dream jobs, dream projects. Work in a senior center. That's great. Good to see you again, Kim. What else? Game designer. Wonderful. start a podcast. Jason, you should. That'd be great. That'd be a great, great, great idea. Focus on working with and helping women and children. Great. Learn administration skills, Roxy. Fantastic. What else? I'm going to wait for a few more. These are really good, very diverse. Okay. So there's a number of people that didn't write down something, and that's totally fine. So I think that since there are people that are not very clear on what they want to do, and we can do this exercise is going to be fine for those of you that do have a sense of what you want to do. Okay, good. Being a lawyer, to be a voice for the people that cannot be heard. Great. Researcher and advocate for addressing the disparities in the healthcare system. Good. So there's a lot of different interests here. This is why I love working with you guys. There's so many different interests always. So what I want us to do now is I want you to start to think, or this is just to get you to start to think about what you're good at, what you're interested in, and how we can start to really think outside of the box around our life experiences, around our skill sets, around ourselves, right? So for those of you that say, like Kim, I want to work in a senior center. Okay. For those of you that wrote something in here, I want you to take a more narrow approach to this exercise. And for those of you that did not write in here because you don't know, which is fine, I want you to take a broader approach. And I'm gonna elaborate on that in a second. So for those of you that wrote what you want to do, or you have an idea of the dream, I want you to write the 3 biggest interests, strengths, and talents that you have around that thing, right? So, for example, Jason wants to start a podcast. The 3 biggest strengths and talents that he might have is, like, number 1, I know a lot of people. That would be, I'm a great networker. So I know a lot of people that would be on the show. Number 2, I communicate with a lot of different kinds of people all over the place. Yes, Alyssa, we're going to all write this in the chat. Thank you for asking. And number 3, I think that I could use the podcast to promote the Leadership Academy, right? So these are my interests in doing the podcast. That's specific to Jason because he had a specific thing that he wanted to do. If you have no idea what you want to do, you could say, I love dogs, I love travel, and I love the beach. I don't know. But then we can start to play a little bit. So let's take a minute and write down again your 3 biggest strengths, interests, talents, abilities around either that thing or something that's totally broad. Okay, Susan, good listener, good speaker, good personality. Okay, cool. And Brian, some people are still writing in what they want to do. That's fine. That's fantastic. So why don't we take about 3 minutes and do this? Because that you can really kind of rack your brain around this.
Brian, can you just say it one more time and we'll write it in the chat?
Absolutely. So the three biggest interests, strengths, talents, or abilities that I have are, and if you already know your dream project or your dream job, make it about that. Make it related to that. Why? And if not, then you can do it totally vague. Kim, good. You're friendly. You like being around other people. Alyssa, I can create. My mind moves a mile a minute. I can create ideas in my head. Very expressive. Just keep dropping them in. You're doing great. Rossini, this is great. Maurice has very specific skills. This is really good. JavaScript, level designing, sound designing. Genuine, friendly and knowledgeable about industry for Dale. Good. All importance pieces. Take about 1 more minute and do to close this out, and then we'll keep moving on. Doing new things with seniors. Good. So, you might say I'm innovative, right? I have new ideas. Kim. So for the people that are writing in like passionate, disciplined, hard worker, kind, motivational, lovely, I want you to really challenge yourself to think about, what does that look like if you stretch it further, right? So Brian, motivational, right? Brian Carter, motivational. I know you're motivational. Because I know you, right? I know that you're a good leader, you're motivational, and you're resilient. What does that look like in the context, right, of medical community work, right? What does that look like as you advocate for the advancement of minorities in a society? What could you parlay that into? What could you turn that into, right? So instead of saying like, I'm a good leader, you could say, and again, this is just, we're taking next steps, right? But I am a thought leader in the minority community around raising up other minority communities, for example, based on what you've said, right? So this is where I want you to take these ideas that are kind of standalone ideas, right? I'm kind, okay? How does kindness translate to doing something that you want to do? If that makes sense. Okay, so these are great. Thank you so much for your wonderful participation in the chat. We're going to move on, and then we're going to come together and bring it all together as it goes on. You'll see how this builds on each other, but we're just building the blocks right now. So the second question that I want you to answer is about your experience. Now, this is where I want you to be practical. I want you to talk about what you've actually done. So I'm going to have you make a list of at least 3, but you can go to up to 5. I think 5 is probably the most you'll get in the time I'm going to allot you. But I want you to talk about some of your previous or current professional or personal experiences that relate to those interests and those strengths that you just mentioned, right? So if Alyssa, let's say, you want to go into screenwriting and you want to go into creative work, right? Let's say that I'd like to know what your experience has been in that world. And this is where I'm not holding you inside of a box, right? So this work, you could say I directed a musical for children when I was in college. That's fine. That's creative work. It doesn't have to be, I did a screenplay for Da Vinci's new film, or DiCaprio's new film, right? It can be very specific or it can be very general. So I want you to take some time. I'm going to give you, I think 5 minutes would be good here. Yeah, we're doing super well on time. So I'm going to give you 5 minutes here to make a list of the experiences, professional or personal, that you've had that are related to your abilities, your strengths, your talents, right? So in my case, right, if I'm promoting myself as someone that can help people tell their stories, the first experience I can talk about is what I did with you guys in the beginning. I was a speechwriter in Bloomberg's administration while he was the mayor of New York City. And therefore, Susan, work experience, if you have it, great, more ideal. If you don't, you can also do personal experience, but work experience would be best. But if not, personal is fine. I was a speechwriter in the administration, right? That could be one thing. The second thing could be We've had 10 out of 10 success with the startups that I've worked with that are raising funds. Every single group that I've worked with has raised funds, right? And then the third thing, whatever. So you get the idea. So take 5 minutes and write about your experience of using those strengths and talents in a way that you can talk about. Good. So you guys are already jamming here. I work in a nursing home, medical clinic, and school. Tell me about how that connects. Go deeper, Susan. Go deeper into what that means, what you've been able to do, what you've been able to create, what you've been able to facilitate, what change you've made because you've lived. I'm going to give you 5 minutes, guys, and you can just jam on that and keep dropping them into the chat. I express my work on social media, practice my hobbies. I've yet to work professionally in the industry. Okay. Just keep dropping those in when you got them. Take about 4 more minutes. Good, Tiffany. Just take 2 more minutes. Just a reminder, if you could drop those into the chat, that would be awesome. Just so I can get a sense of where everybody's at. We're doing experiences connected to your strengths. Great. Kim, great. Rossini, great. All right. So some really good ones here. Multifaceted in the art of being a successful individual, and I will continue to embrace all the struggles and advocate for community to help bridge the gap amongst society. Good. Okay, so there's a lot of good examples here of things that are connected, right? From hang on, I'm just reading a couple more that just came in. Just one more second. Okay, so part of the idea, read Dale's and then we'll move on. I've installed numerous landscape lighting systems. I usually encounter an obstacle, always overcome it. My products directly from China, saving my costs. I maintain a decent sized inventory, so I'm able to do my installations on time as promised. And I usually do a little more than promised, I'm assuming. Okay, good. So these are great. These are great. I think that what would be cool. Well, let me pause. We've been talking now for a bit. Let me pause and ask if anybody has any questions. You can just unmute your mic. And if you have any questions about what we've done so far, or just, hey, this came up for me. Hey, this, anything at all. Any questions so far? Comments, thoughts, concerns? We're doing okay? Okay, cool. At any time during this presentation, if you have questions, please don't hesitate to ask. There's no problem in that. So I think let's do a couple of examples here. Because what I want to show you next is how I think that you have more going on for yourself than you might think, right? Rossini, would you mind if we did work with you for a few minutes? Rossini, I'm not sure. Maybe you're not there for the moment. Let's see who else. Does anybody want to volunteer? Let's start with that. Around what? Sure, Susan. All right, Susan, you're in. Let's see if I can find you on here. Oh, there you are. Okay. So do you wanna unmute yourself?
Good morning.
Oh, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing good. How you doing? Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Thank you for volunteering. You're the brave soul in the group. So Alyssa says you're so pretty, Susan. So
Thank you.
I love the love. All right, so let's start with what it is that you want to do.
Well, working with kids in the foster care system, adopted kids. I wanted to be a foster parent at one point, so.
Okay, and so when you say, so we're going to go into kind of an example of how we're going to dissect these kinds of things, right? And while Susan's the brave one volunteering, I want you to all know that this is applicable to all of you. So this is going to be an exercise that we do for Susan, but also you should be following along as well. All right. So Susan, you want to
Yes.
be working in the foster care system. What exactly, if you could dream anything up, your dream job in that world, what would you do?
Well, actually show that like people care, I think is just like looking over things, unfortunately sometimes people either choose to ignore or they just like don't want to do their job. And I do believe that everybody should have a passion in what they do. Not only for the money. Obviously, if you're unhappy, I feel like it's just common sense to not do it. But actually, just like make a difference. Somebody that told me that even if it's you're just one person, like with what you're doing, you might feel like it's not enough, or it doesn't have to take a group. Like it can be just you, and that's a start. So.
So to connect that to us for about the foster system, what does that have to do in like what would you, if you could have any job, what would it be?
Well, I would like to visit the homes and see in what kind of conditions the children are living. Do they have the essential stuff, food, clothing, how the house is the house clean? Who are the people that are in charge that are watching and, looking over them? Like in school, are they doing okay? Mentally, yeah, case manager. Somebody said case manager, but yeah, case manager, supervisor.
Okay, that's great. So let's say case manager, supervisor. So we're going to start there. Case manager, supervisor in the foster care system, right? So let's just get that down here. I'm writing that down, foster care system. Okay, so that's the job, right? That's at the top. So all of you have something at the top, whether you know what it is or not, or whether it's well defined or not. It's all of you have something on the top, right? Now, that's A, right? So now let's do B. So B is what interests that you had that are connected to that job, right? So let's hear what those were for you, Susan. Those
The
those those interests.
the interest that I have, well, being able to work with people, being able to provide like the knowledge that I know, and being able to be a part of something.
Be a part of something. All right. So this is a great example because I bet almost every single person that wrote something down, I mean, the ones that I saw, every single person, right? You all had beautiful things that you wrote, but they could all be way better. And the point of this workshop, right, is that you start to see what you're good at. You're able to figure out how to talk about it. You're able to figure out how to market it, and you're able to figure out how to get jobs or business from the thing that you love to do. Like my dream is to set you up so that people are coming to you with job opportunities, right? That's a really good personal brand. If someone said to me, what does personal branding mean for you? It would be that people want to work with me just because of my brand. And that happens to me all the time. I get invitations to speak or I get invitations to serve clients because they've seen something that I've put out. They've seen work that I've put out. And because of that, that's how we start working together, right? So I want that to be the leading force for you, right? I want someone to come to you and say, Susan, I want to hire you to be a case manager. Not you going out and trying to find a job as a case manager, although that's part of it as well. But in an ideal world, people are coming to you like, Dale, we'll do you in a minute. But like, I want people to come to you when they need these fixtures installed because of your personal brand that you've built online, right? So what I'm trying to say with that for all of you, not just Susan, is that, I've worked with people, I've provided knowledge, and I want to be a part of something. Those are the interests, right, that you said. But I want you to drill down even deeper, right? Who have you worked with? Let me just ask you some follow-up questions. Who have you worked? So for interest one, strength one, I work well with people. Who, when, Where? How? Give me some examples.
Well, my first, I'll say real job, but my first job that I had was working in a nursing home in
Mhm.
the Bronx. It wasn't just like people of like elderly age, it was young people as well. And I got to experience like some of them didn't have a place to live. Some people were just there for rehab. Some
Yep.
people had a family that didn't visit them.
Yep.
Some people were like just wanted to be there because they were like lonely at home.
Yep.
So it was different things. It was a crazy, but not crazy in a bad way. It was like an eye opener, I guess.
Yep. So now I want you to start thinking about, and that's a perfect example, right? And I know you can do probably 3, 4, 5 more of those, right? But in the interest of time, I just want to give you guys some framework options that you can implement for yourselves. I want you to think about that. So I worked in a nursing home in the Bronx. Now I want you to think about, how can I take that statement, I worked in a nursing home in the Bronx, and make it even more compelling, right? You said you had people and patients and blah. How many patients? How many people did you service over the course of the year, 2, 3, 4, however many years you worked there? How many people do you think you were in charge of working with?
Oh, they have more than one location, and I was in two locations in the Bronx. So well over like five. I wasn't assigned to anybody. The department that I did work in, though, however, we were in charge of basically just setting up their appointments and transportation. So it was more of staying in contact with the doctors, making sure that, of course, their health was up to par. If they have physical therapy, um, it
So
was like a
how many
variety.
people you think you worked with?
Oh, I was there for almost like 4 years.
Just give me a rough
Well,
estimate. That
well
doesn't.
over, well over 100,
Yeah.
honestly. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is great. So now, like, I want to show you what we did. Instead of saying like, my strength is that I work well with people, and therefore you should hire me to be a case manager at your foster care system. What you could say is, I have years and years of professional experience working with people who are kind of down and out, and who are who have been neglected in some cases by society. Their families don't come visit them. They don't have people that come. They're lonely at home. They don't have whatever you saw, right? And I'm talking about
Yes.
working with hundreds of people. I've
Yeah.
worked with hundreds of people across multiple locations in the Bronx to help them feel safe, to help them feel seen, to help them feel whatever whatever it is that you did in that job, right?
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, that's an interest that now is backed by an experience. Do you see how this is all building, guys and gals? Like, this is how we start. This is how we structure the whole thing,
Yes.
right?
I'm taking notes.
Good. So this is how we structured it for a reason. And I want you to all take this level of discipline around the work. Okay. So it's like, I want to be a case manager for the foster care system. That's great. And then, but instead of saying like, I'm good at working with people, which is my strength, what we can do is we can combine the strength and the talent with the experience that we've had, and then start to really build a case for us as to why this is a thing that we can do. We're all still learning. This is why we're all here, right? But what's happening for the most part with all of us all over the world is we're selling ourselves short. I work with people is so much less compelling than I've serviced over 100 people in nursing homes over the course of 4 years in multiple locations, making sure that they feel seen. And then you can really start to think about, like, what else did I do in these 4 years? Did you create
Where were you
programs?
before when I was growing up?
I don't know. We're here now. We're here now. But then, Susan, you can think about what else. I built programs, right? What happened with these 100 people? What kind of testimonials did you get from these people? And now all of a sudden, you're going to be in a really good position to do what we're going to do in the second half of the workshop, which is coming up in a few minutes. But I think that everyone needs to think about the fact that, so if I'll give you a personal example about my own life to just really drive this point home, and then we're going to move on. Thank you, Susan. That was great. You were
Thank you.
amazing. So, when I was first starting my business in California, I was working a lot with startup companies. And for those of you that aren't familiar, startup companies are just small groups of people that have an idea. And in some cases, they want to go raise money from venture capitalists who basically say, like, I think your idea is going to make more money than I'm going to give you, and I'm going to take a percentage of that. So I'm going to give you $1 million because I think you're going to make $10 million, and I'm going to take 20% so that my $1 million turns into $2 million. And now all of a sudden I made $1 million just by believing in you. That's the venture capital model, right? But what I realized, so a lot of people wanted to raise venture capital money, but a lot of people were really poor at explaining what they did. So I started working with startups, and I started helping them tell their stories to venture capitalists. And so my sales pitch initially was like, I help people pitch venture capitalists, but that wasn't really very compelling because anyone can say that they did that, right? So then, but once I started working with people, and I saw that Dale did this in one of his examples that he just dropped in, is that once I started working with startups and I started having success, we had 5 or 6 startups in a row that raised a significant amount of money. Then I could start to say that of all the startups that I've ever worked with, we've all raised money. And so far, with only 5 startups, we've raised, $10 million, for example. And it was even more than that. Now, all of a sudden, people are really paying attention because you have some numbers to talk about, right? You serviced 100 different people in those nursing homes, right? That's a lot of people. And you had, so all of you should think about, well, what is the number? What is the thing that I've been able to do? And even if it's just like, Jason has been doing the Leadership Academy for 14, 15, I don't even know how many years, 16 years. That, let's say there's 50 people every year, talking about thousands of students, right? Every semester, rather, you're talking about thousands of students. That's 15 years. Let's say you get 100 students a year, that's 1,500 students. So if Jason's dream is to go and speak at different colleges around the country about how to build a leadership academy, instead of saying, I run Hostos Leadership Academy and stopping there, which is what most people do, he could say, I run Hostos Leadership Academy, which we've been going on for 15 years, self-funded, whatever, and we've done it for 1,500 students. And then he could even go crazier. And 90% of them got jobs in the industries that they wanted to work in. That's 1,000, that's 1,300 students. So, and then let's just say, like, and that has led to, New York City, that has led to hundreds of thousands of dollars of tax money from our program that goes back into New York City. And then that all of a sudden becomes a way for him to do fundraising, because now he's showing the numbers of why these numbers matter, right? And so I think that that's the thing that I most pulled from working in the Bloomberg administration. It was just this idea that, give me the numbers, show me the numbers, show me how these numbers make sense. You can tell me that you've had students come through, or you can tell me you have 1,500 students come through, but combine the emotional part of it with the numbers. You all want to do amazing work. Now talk about how you can do the amazing work and how you've done the amazing work and what that's looked like. I'm going to stop and take questions. Anybody have a question at all, or a comment or a thought? No pressure if you don't, but if you do, I just always want to take time to make sure that everybody's feeling good. Susan, is there anything? Hello. Is it who's unmuted?
Kim.
Hey, Kim, how's it going?
I'm fine. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you for joining again. It's always great to see you.
Same here. My question is that I know I want to work in a senior center. And the reason why I want to work in the senior center from what's been going on in the pandemic, it seems like a lot of seniors need assistance but don't know how to get it, or we don't know how to reach them. And my question is, how can we reach the ones that's not in the senior centers? And my next question, how do we keep the people that's in the senior centers so they can still continue on living a healthier life than they are now?
Yeah. Well, what do you think? Well, the first question I would ask you is, what do you think is hard about informing them or about finding them?
Well, the first of all is that they're not really tech savvy. You know, they might know how to use a cell phone, but not really all the things they are supposed to know. Like they might know how to interact with, with family members, but they might not know how to interact with someone that's at the senior center. Like to let them know that they're not coming, or they can't attend this certain function or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's tough. I think that and then what was this? What was the second part of the question again?
And the second part of it is that how can we keep in touch with the people that's still going? Like how can we give them information to give to their friends so they can get their friends to come back to the senior center or to join one?
Do you work in the senior center right now?
No, I want to. I'm
Well,
trying to still stay in
yeah,
school.
yeah, okay, I got you. So I think that this could be interesting. So it's a great question. I don't know that I have the answer for your question because I'm not familiar with that space as well. But if I were to look at it from a branding perspective and for a helping you perspective, I would say that this could be a really interesting place to start building your brand as an expert. So what I would do if I were you, as you are in your quest for this job, I think that I would start talking to, and we're going to get into this in the second part, right? But so you're a visionary, you're seeing where I'm going already. But I would start talking to senior centers and asking them about their current processes for solving those two problems, because they seem like big problems and they seem pretty challenging. And then with the answers to those questions, I would start to position myself, Kim, as the authority or the expert in some way around the solutions to that problem. So let me give you an example. So let's say that you go to and you just talk, and you can find these people on LinkedIn. You can go talk to them in person. You can ask friends of yours that work at senior centers. I would ask them these questions. The first question is, and this is good. These are good questions for anyone that ever wants to own a business. These are questions I ask all the time. I even asked you guys at the beginning of this Zoom. The first question is like, what is your goal, right? What is your goal around, right, this? So what is your goal around communicating with seniors that are currently in your system? Why do you want to talk to them? Because we want to know what's going on with them. We want to know what they need. Okay. And you don't influence these answers. You just ask and you listen. And the second question is, well, what have you tried so far to get to know the people in your center? And how's it going? Really open-ended, right? And then they answer, well, we send out a mailer in their mailboxes every Friday. And how's it going? I don't really know how it's going. Okay, that's fine. And then the third question that I asked you all, what is your biggest frustration right now around this goal? And that answer, what they answer there is actually the gold of what you need to figure out. The frustration is we have no idea who's reading these messages, these mailers we're sending out to their mailbox on Friday. The frustration is we don't actually even know who's in our nursing center right now. We actually we don't know, whatever they say, right? Then what you do, Kim, is you start to find solutions. And that's the content that you start to create. And that's the brand you start to create. So on your LinkedIn, maybe you write an article about the best way senior citizen centers can keep up with their residents' needs. New technologies, that could be an article, right? Second article could be new technologies available to track senior citizen frustrations living in senior citizen homes. Now, all of a sudden, you figured out a way to talk about a big problem that people are having. And let me tell you something. If one senior citizen center in the Bronx has the problem, all of them have the problem. And if one senior citizen center has the problem in the Bronx, then all of them in Brooklyn also have the same problem. Now, all of a sudden, this Kim Lloyd person, who we don't really have a clue who she is, we're checking out what she's saying about these things all the time to direct our policies. And that is how, and then I'm like, you know what? This is like the 7th good article that Kim has written about this. Maybe I'll hire her as a consultant. Or the person that we have is a full-time position for retention and happiness at the Senior Citizen Center is not doing a very good job. And this random person I don't even know is giving me more insight and value than anyone that I've hired. I'm going to see if I can find a job for her. This is how it works. This is what a brand is. So your question is really important and really good because it shines light on what I believe is possible for all of us and missing in the world of personal branding. Because you're not actually just saying, hire me, hire me, hire me, hire me, hire me. You're putting out really beautiful content around issues that are very real, and then you're offering a solution. Does that make sense?
Yes.
That's where I'd focus if I
Very
were
much
you.
so.
That's where I'd focus. And you
Okay.
can do that while you're in school. You know, you can dedicate an hour or two to try to figuring out where are these systems failing and what's out there that could be helpful and what's out there and what's not out there that could be helpful that no one's thought about. That's the other thing you have to think about, right? And then you just put it out there.
All right.
Thanks
Thank you.
for the question, Kim. Great question. All right. So, and that's, by the way, everyone, that's applicable to all of your things. Like Dale, you can do the same thing. Same thing. Here's the biggest problems that I see. You could write articles and videos about the biggest problems that you see when you go for house visits. You could do this. You could do every single day a new problem that you're seeing in the solution. And you offer that to people for free. And then they end up hiring you because they trust you. All of your things, right? A podcast. Jason wants to do a podcast. You could do a podcast about how to build a leadership academy. And now all of a sudden, 5 years from now, you're the expert about how to build a leadership academy in a community college or in a city university or whatever, in a university. And now all of a sudden you're getting invited to go speak and consult for people all over the world that want to build these things. This is just how it works. I've just seen it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. The more that you put out there for free around specific issues that you care deeply about, that you're interested in, that you're good at, the business will come to you. It's, believe it or not, really hard for companies right now to find competent people that want to work. Everyone's talking about the recession and blah, blah, blah. And they are laying people off, but there's so much opportunity out there right now. So much. And the media wants to feed you a story because that keeps you scared, but it's not true. There are so many people that need good, bright people that have good ideas that are willing to work. And all of you that want to do things can do all of them. It's just a matter of starting and doing it in a way that's different. Instead of spamming people constantly for work, putting out really beautiful content is the future of the brand. Okay, I see a few more questions, and then I think I'll do Alyssa and then Dale, and then we should keep going. How important is your business image, your personal image? The truth is, like, it's only as important as the person that wants to work with you places on it. Like I used to wear suits and ties a lot when I first started my business. I don't anymore, because the truth of the matter is, Dale, like I don't actually care what you look like when you show up to my house if you do the job right. And most people, I think, are the same. It's a weird new world we're living in, and I think if you're talented, then that goes way beyond any physical appearance. And then dress in business attire, it's the kind of the same answer, right? Personal image, kind of the same answer. How good are you at what you do? That's what I care about more than anything. You can be in a suit and tie, and if you do the surgery wrong on my mother, I'm not going to remember how sharply you dressed. I'm going to remember that you messed up the surgery, right? Like I want competence more than, I don't care about really anything else. That's me personally, and I think that a lot of people would agree on that as well. But if you enjoy dressing up, if it makes you feel good, then go for it. I think that's beautiful that people dress up still. I just don't think that it's important in a business issue, in a business scenario. If we do not have experience at the moment, how can we build ourselves to enter without it? Alyssa, it's kind of like, so you wanted to do the creative work and the screenwriting, if I recall. I think that you just start, you just start writing, and people are actually really drawn to honesty. So if I were you and I wanted to write a screenwriter, if I wanted to be a screenwriter, I wanted to write a movie, I would start to write about my process of my first movie. So, that way you're not faking it until you make it, which I think is a really bad strategy. And then ultimately I think it makes you feel crappy. And I think it makes the people that are smart kind of quickly recognize that it's not true. And that's never a good strategy. So I think that if I were you, I would say, like, my goal is to write my first movie by 2024. Here's what, every day in 2023, I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I did. And then you start sharing that. And then people are, excited about that. Or you can write, maybe you want to get a job at Lucas Studios or Sony, and you could literally do a story about getting that job. Every day you could do a video or write an article about what you did to get this dream job. Today I emailed 100 people. Guess how many people wrote back to me? 0. But tomorrow I'll do it again. And then the third thing that you could do is you could start, and this is something that I've seen some success with myself, is you can start offering people ideas, right? You can start, your favorite movie producers, or even your like non-well-known movie producers. You could watch their movies and say, I love it. I think you could do a follow-up movie, and here's what it would be like. And then you just write them a really quick treatment. And if they like it, maybe they hire you to work on it with them. And you always let people know, and this is something that I forgot to say, you always let people know that you're looking for work. There's no problem with that. It's a sales. I mean, this is, like if Dale is putting out an article a day or a week about the problems, in that article multiple times, Dale should mention that this is what he does for a living, and if you'd like to hire him, then he's available. There's no problem with that. Alyssa, you can say, my dream is to be a creative movie producer, and I'm looking for my first job. And I'm putting this out there to the world because I'm hopeful that it'll attract the right person. If that's you, please message me. No problem. Like, you're doing a lot of work to get your name out there. There is no shame in actually asking for what you want. And I would encourage it, because it's the only way. People don't even know that you're looking for a job. They just think you like movies. Say it often and say it clearly and say it bravely, because there's no problem with that. I'll do one more here. Susan, you're welcome, Melissa. It's really, really, really fun to be a creative, by the way. The last 11 years have been just absolutely dreamy. Quick question. I'm a certified EKG and phlebotomist, but they keep asking me for experience. I just recently got certified. So how can I word myself right to get the opportunity? I would just be honest, Susan. Would just say, I'm certified. I'm just getting started, just like you. at some point. These people that are asking for experience also didn't have experience at the beginning, and this is something that we forget a lot. You can say, just I'm looking for experience. That's why I'm applying. I'm a quick learner, and then you can go into, this is where the exercise that we did in the first half really helps, because you could say, like, I also didn't know how to run a nursing center, a nursing home, and then I was there for 4 years and ran 100. I was in charge of 100 people. So I also didn't know how to do this, and then I did it. Use transferable skills, right? And that's how you can do it. Don't overcompensate. Don't be on your knees begging them to say yes to your lack of experienced self. Just be authentic and say, I don't have the experience. I'm looking to get the experience. Give me a shot. You won't regret it. I think that's a really powerful way of getting experience. People are delusional about, like, how experience works. It's like, how did you get experience? Someone said yes to you and you didn't have it, so say yes to me. Hope that helps. Melanie, how want to service the homeless population? So many issues to tackle. Okay, yeah. Do you think that starting with possibly giving out care packages and food and bagged food is a good start? I think it depends on what you want to do, Melanie. So I think that if you want to work in homeless services as a profession, then if you're, okay, I'm going to back up. So the first thing I would say is, like, it depends on what makes you excited and happy about the work. That's where you have to start. Otherwise you burn out, because these are dense populations, right? And there's a lot of burnout because it's sad and it's hard. So you have to first start with, why do you want to do this, right? So, like, what is your purpose for doing this? Do you want to just hand out some lunches and dinners on your own, a couple times a week, because that's like a public service and like an act of faith or whatever? Then do whatever you want, right? There's no right or wrong answer. If you're asking me because you want to find a job in homeless services and you think that handing out lunches or dinners is like, well, I guess let me just ask you, what do you want to do?
Hello. So I pretty much want to probably open up like a small organization, starting off like a business to help the homeless population, whether it's them suffering from mental abuse, mental illness, substance abuse, or just nowhere to go.
Okay, and when you say starting a business, what does that look like in your mind? Is it a for-profit business? Is it a non-profit business? What is it? What does it look like?
Nonprofit.
So I think the first thing that I would do is I would go and work at a nonprofit that does something similar to what you want to do.
Right.
And this is advice I give to everybody. Like, I used to want to open an orphanage. That was a really big passion of mine. I was convinced that I wanted to open an orphanage. And so I went and worked in an orphanage for 3 months in the Dominican Republic, and I loved it deeply. But I realized, like, there's no way I can do this. I don't have the my heart was breaking too much. There's no way that I could sustainably do this work. And it's unbelievably beautiful work. And anyone that does it has my deepest respects. I couldn't do it. I'm really glad that I went and I did that for 3 months, because it saved me a lot of time and money down the line. So I have no doubt about your passion, Melanie. Like, I'm sure you are passionate about this community, but it's one thing to be passionate about. I'm passionate about cooking, but I would not want to be a chef, right? So, I would not want to work in a restaurant 50 hours a week behind the grill. I would burn out. So sustainability really is a big thing. The reason that the last 11 years have been so dreamy for me is because I love it every day. And I think that if you really want to build something, it doesn't have to be 10 years, it doesn't have to be 20 years. But I think that if you really want to build something, like, giving yourself some significant time to building it is important. And so I think that, Melanie, the first thing I would do is I would either go and work for a place that does that kind of work and see where it can be more efficient and see where it does things well and see where there's holes. Or I would start some sort of content play around it, meaning, and this, this is where I tend to go a little bit outside of the box. So you can go and work in a homeless services business, nonprofit, shelter, community center, or you can become the person that shares best practices that are happening around 20 of them. So let's say that you become the expert. If you want, again, these are just ideas. You don't have to adopt them if they don't resonate. But let's just say you want to become the expert at the best way to run a homeless center. How the food doesn't get wasted, where the food comes from, where the mental health issues get treated in the best way possible, where the job training is proper. And maybe that doesn't exist in one place. But so maybe you go to 5 different places, one place that has the job training figured out, one place that has the food sourcing figured out, one place that has the mental health figured out. And then you write or create videos or create content around, hey, New York City, none of you are doing it perfectly. 10 of you are doing one thing really well. What would it look like for us to bring all of those 10 things together? That's my nonprofit. Or if you don't want, if you decide like, actually, I'm enjoying like being multifaceted in this approach, you could say, this is my consulting service. I help homeless service communities master their plans and figure out how to do things in the best way possible. So feel into if those are very different things, right?
That.
They're very different things, and you can kind of experiment. I really think my biggest advice for everyone is before you jump in full time with your time and your energy and your money, if you're going to start a business, into something that you think you love, and you probably do love, spend some time, whether it be a month or a year or a few years. I wanted to be the mayor of New York City in my mind. That would have been a really brutal journey had I not figured out pretty quickly that I actually don't want to do this. I thought I wanted to do it. I don't want to do it. But in working for Bloomberg for 3 years, I realized that I do love storytelling. And that is something that is a sustainable passion. And I'm good at it. And so I can do that. Does that make sense, Melanie?
Yes, very much so. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I like the consultant idea also, doing the research of the thing that might be needed in that area first and working around that.
Because the other thing too, Melanie, and this is again applicable to everybody, and this is why I think that I've been successful in what I've been able to do. When you're working 60 hours a week at your community center servicing homeless populations, you're tired. You're in it. You're really in it, and you're doing deep work. And you are sometimes so buried in the day-to-day that someone like you can come in, Melanie, and you could be like, hey, you guys are missing a huge opportunity here. And you share that, and they're like, wow, we didn't even see that. A fresh perspective with someone that's not living in it 60 hours a week is really valuable. And you can be paid well for that. And you can, it's very stimulating mentally for you, because then you become acutely aware of a lot of things, and you don't get so hammered in the day-to-day. And some people love the day-to-day, and that is a skill set in and of itself that I think is powerful and beautiful. And if you have that and you want to run a homeless center day-to-day, and that's where you thrive, then do it. But if you resonated with that second idea, that's worth exploring. All right, so thank you for the questions. Great questions, and it's really helpful to be able to jam with you like this. So we have about a half an hour left. So what I want to do now is I want to jump into actually making content. I want you to all walk away from here with the knowledge of how you can get started with what we're doing right now, right? So this is really kind of the building your brand piece of it, right? We've been building the building, and now we're going to build it. So as I mentioned during these Q&As, there's kind of three ways, right, that you can transfer knowledge. You can create videos, you can write, or you can do audio products. So you have to kind of figure out, like, maybe you hate being on camera, and maybe that's just not going to be a thing you're going to ever do, and that's fine. Maybe you really don't like writing and you love being on camera, then be on camera. Maybe you don't like either, but you have a lot to say and you want to just put out a podcast or audio. Now with social media, you can just speak into your phone and then put like a nice picture or video over it, and then all of a sudden you have a video. So I don't care what you do. My advice would be to do all of them. But if you're, again, I'm all about what you're actually going to do and if you can sustain that, because that's a completely underrated skill, the sustainability of your output, right? So I would say figure out if you wanted to do video, if you wanted to do audio, or if you wanted to do written. All right. So just go ahead and write that down for yourself. Just take like literally 10 seconds and write that down. I want to do video, I want to do audio, and do written. I want to do all of them. All right, so now, and again, no, you don't have to do it in the chat, Alyssa. Just do it in your own, you're at home. So now is where it gets fun. Now is where we're gonna start to build a bit. Now what I want you to do is I want you to, across the top of that piece of paper, right? So you have your video, audio, or written, and then I want you to write, what are you in this moment? If you were to create a video or write an article or do an audio product, what would you be if I told you have somewhere between 2 and 5 minutes on video, 1 to 3 pages on written? What would you want to write or do a video about? And if it's connected to your professional dream, that's better, right? Like the whole point here is to help you kind of get your job, your favorite job, or your launch your favorite business or build the existing business. So I want you to think about right now, today, with all I've done, all of my experiences, all of my strengths, all of my dream job, all the things that we've done for the last hour and a half. If I were to sit down right now and write an article or shoot a video about one thing that I want to do or have done, what would it be? And why don't you write this in the chat for me? So for example, mine could be how to write a viral article to a country. And I could talk about my love letter to Uruguay. Or it could be the 10 things that I learned from Hostos Leadership Academy's winter workshop, because I am passionate about sharing stories of brilliant minds around the world. What would yours be? Go ahead and write that in the chat. The topic, the title. Think title.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
If you were to do a video or an article right now about your dream job, but based on the experience that you've had, that you would feel like, you know what, I can do this. I can write this article. I'm knowledgeable enough to talk about this one thing right now that's related to my dream job or my dream project. What would the title of that article or that video be?
Okay, thank you.
Sure. The homeowner's benefits of installing. Perfect. Perfect. Just keep dropping those into the chat, guys, please. The title of this article. How to interview inspirational people. Great. Good, Jason. How to be a positive person in today's new world. Good. Our hands are helping hands. Ending homelessness is possible. Love that. Love that. Morals theory of precept. Cool. Cool, cool. Let's take 1 more minute. These are great. How resilience leads to success. Awesome. Okay. So now, how to improve your self-fulfillment. Cool. Great. These are great. So again, even if you're not writing these in the chat, you can be doing this at home, and then you can implement these whenever you want. So now what I want to do for the next, let's say 5 minutes, because then I want to do just like a public share and then close out with any questions, is I want you to actually literally outline what this article or this video is going to sound like. Put 3 or 4 or 5 points, have maybe a couple sub points beneath each point. But I want you to start to think about, what are my points, right? So like if Dale, the homeowner's benefit of installing a low voltage lighting system, I'm assuming there's like 3 benefits. What are they? 1, 2, 3. And then below each benefit, maybe you have a sub point, sub benefit 1, sub benefit 2, below benefit 2, sub benefit 1, sub benefit 2, etc. Melanie, our hands are helping hands. Ending homelessness is possible. How do you envision that outline looking? Is it, number 1, the problem, number 2, the solution, number 3, the food sources, number 4, whatever, right? Let's go for an outline here. Let's spend 5 minutes. And then if anyone wants to share what that outline is, when we come back, we'll do 1 more person of sharing, and then we'll close out with some questions if there are any. Okay. So in 5 minutes, we'll be back to do, to share what your outlines look like. All right. Take one more minute and we'll come back. All right. Does anybody want to volunteer to share their outline? Don't be scared.
I would.
All right, cool. Let's go for it, Kim.
Okay. My first part of outline is think positive people. My second part would be positive people help people. And then the third part, positive people are happy people.
Mm-hmm. And were you able to build out any of the subtitles beneath them? Oh, sorry, Kim, what would the title of your article or your video be?
Oh, thinking positive people.
Mm-hmm.
So these days and times you have to think positive to get through what you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And then my second part of it would be positive people help people. And then the third part would be positive people are happy people.
Mm-hmm. Great. And so what you'll want to do, right, is at some point you'll want to connect that to what you want to do, right? So the dream job or the dream thought or the dream whatever that you're working on, right? You'll want to start to think about how can I connect this positivity piece to that dream, right? So that people can start to find you and start to want to work with you in these areas. That makes sense?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Kim. Anybody else want to go? I see Dale's dropped in here. Aesthetically pleasing. Your home is already beautiful. Do you want to just jam with me, Dale?
Sure.
All right, let's go for it.
So aesthetically pleasing is obvious. I do high-end work, so most of the houses are very high-end. So they love their home during the day, it's gorgeous, but at night it's pitch black. So I light it up and they love what they see. Second, security. Again, nobody likes walking on a dark property, whether it's just entering your home or the dogs in the backyard or the side of the house, your windows, so on. So again, most people install systems for that reason. And the same thing with safety. Sidewalks aren't always perfectly level, and kids' bicycles, toys, Legos, the deal, so that people could see where they're walking. Again, minimize insurance claims and so on.
Yeah, so this is interesting. So I think that, even within this example, right? I think that Dale this could be three different articles, right? I think that and this is something that I think all of you should think about, right? If you're the kind of person that's like, I just don't know what to talk about. Well, let's look at this. Dale has 3 points: aesthetics, security, safety, right? I think that those could be broken down into 3 different articles. Why an aesthetically pleasing house in the day and in the night matters for your health, for example, could be an article, right? Aesthetically pleasing make you more productive? Question mark. The science behind the productivity of loving your home during the night and the day. All of a sudden now we have 2 articles in this first article. Aesthetically pleasing. Are people happier when they work in a home that they love? Now we have happiness, right? So now we have productivity, we have health, we have happiness, all within an aesthetically pleasing home. Now that's going to lead people to want to do business with you, because who doesn't want to be happier, healthier, and more productive, right? That's point number 1. So all of you can think about, okay, well, I have this point. Okay, positivity, boom, cool. Surround yourself with positivity, cool. Find the good, cool. But for what? Why? What are you trying to do? Dale's trying to get hired.
So can I just interject? So it also offers more living space, like your backyard.
Right. That's another, like how to open up more space, how to, how to multiply your square footage without buying a new home. Like there's all kinds of things you can do, right? But you're thinking about it exactly correctly. Security, right? Like why my job makes your house safer, why what I do, you get the point here. Safety, same thing, right? One can safely navigate entering and exiting the dwelling, right? You could say that there could be, health, mental health benefits to that. There could be actual physical health benefits. Why your child needs more security at night and you don't even know about it. There's all kinds of stuff you can do with these 3 points. So this is great because for a video or an article, these 3 points that Dale just did would be robust and it would be wonderful. But what I'm trying to show you guys, especially all of you that are like, I don't have any ideas, just with one idea, you can come up with 10 ideas. And we just did that. There's probably 10 articles that we just talked about in these 3 points, right? So that's where I want you to all start thinking outside of the box, right? And Alyssa says, hope one day you can work on my house. There you go. Now we're just doing business development. I love it. So, that's the point. Okay. I think that expanding these things, stretching these things is important. Anybody else have any kind of we're coming to the end of the time here. I want to leave a few minutes for questions and I just want to close out and give my thanks but does anyone else have any final kind of closing questions at all about anything that we talked about, or just unmute yourself and ask if you'd like. In the meantime, I'm going to leave my, this is my social media. I'm on everything in the chat here, Brian Rashid Global. And I'm also going to leave you guys my email. So if you wanted to email me any questions or thoughts or updates, or just, let me know how things are going. I'd love to hear from you all. So this is my social on top and my email is there. And then I'll give you also my website if you want to check out what we're up to. But RashidGlobal.com. Okay, so if there are no questions, that was just fine. I just want to kind of close out with a couple of thoughts. The first is thank you. You've been amazing, so interactive, so engaged. I really appreciate it. These Zoom things are a little bit strange sometimes, especially if no one's interacting. And so you are awesome. Do reach out if you need anything, and I'm always happy to hear from you. And then also, I would say that give yourself credit for what you've done. So much of our lives we don't want to honor, and we were so hard on ourselves, right? And this is, if I dig deep underneath the surface of what I love about this workshop, is that we just spent a couple hours celebrating what you're good at and your successes. And I think that that's important. And give yourself that credit, give yourself that honoring, give yourself that chance. Take a chance on yourself, take a chance on your dream. You won't regret it. It might lead you somewhere unknown, but it will lead you somewhere beautiful. And if I can be of any service to you in any way, that would be great. And the final thing I'd like to say from my heart is just thanks to Jason. And you all, I don't know how well you all know Jason, but Jason's one of the most beautiful, powerful men that I've ever met. And his commitment to you, whether you know him deeply or not, is immense and infinite. And I wish everyone in education was Jason, and we would have such a beautiful, robust system of education. And I think that he really is there for you. And it's so hard to find someone that's really there for you, for real, not just during this program, but after. I mean, I see pictures with him with his alumni from years and years and years and years ago, and just has a heart of gold. And he's also pretty ferocious with his passion, and he's a sweet man, but he stands up for so much that he believes in. and take advantage of that and really get to know him if you haven't yet, because it's awesome. And it's an awesome commitment to humanity. And it's why I love coming back and doing this every year. And somehow he doesn't age either. He look younger every year. But maybe it's that, upstate living. But yeah, I'm grateful to be here. I'm grateful to be a part of this. I believe so much in the CUNY system. I'm a proud graduate of the CUNY system, and I will always advocate for it, and I will always serve in the best way that I can. So it's been a real pleasure being with you guys today, and thank you so much.
Thank you so much to you too.
Thank you, Brian, for the kind
It
words.
was a pleasure.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Appreciate
Thank
you
you.
all.
Hearing echoes of myself. Thank you for the kind words, Brian. I really appreciate it. I just, and when I asked Brian about this workshop, when we were talking about doing something here for the winter workshops and kicking off the program for the week, I thought that it would be great to sort of inspire those of you who want to be a part of this and sort of get your, I'm hearing my own echo. Let me get that. Sort of kick the year off, right? You all have your own personal brand. Brian actually said it at the beginning of the workshop. It's about fleshing it out, kind of bringing it to the forefront and understanding how it impacts the journey that you're on. If you simply just say that you're going to be part of the, the social structures that exist and just like jump in where you're needed, that's fine. Nobody's going to blame you for doing that. But if you're going to aspire to the things that a lot of you spoke about today, your dreams, your goals, the things that you're putting out there into the universe to say, this is what I really want to do. This is who I really want to be. Then exploring your personal brand and bringing it to the forefront is really important. And Brian's a great resource for this. So he's very nice to say the things that he says about me in terms of like watching my social media. I get to watch his social media as well and see all of the wonderful things that he does on a regular basis, interacting, creating, developing, helping people to hone their skills. And as we say in our group, he's a great tangential mentor, somebody who is accessible, who you can reach out to, bounce questions, ideas off of, and get some feedback for as you're along your journey. So Brian, thank you for always being that for the group, for any members of the group that have participated over the years. It's a little bit more than 1,500, but that's okay. I take 1,500 as a good number. And I also want to acknowledge, some of the folks who are in here are not from Hostos, and we are really happy that you joined us. I hope that you got something, and maybe, you see something in Brian that makes you want to bring him to your campus, and I can assist with making those connections for you with your directors, or we can do that through our SGA groups if we want to as well. He's a great resource. He has more than just one package. He does a number of different things. So he's a great person to bring in to talk to your communities as well. And yeah, so I mean, I'm always excited to hear from you at this point in time, January, right? Everybody gets all wound up and driven to like big changes. That should happen every day. Like the moment you wake up in the morning in Hawaii, where Brian is, or in the Bronx, where I am right now, or wherever you are, it's every day should be that inspiration. But obviously, January is something different. We turn the clock. We hit a new, set of agendas. We put the past in the past and the beginning, new beginnings, all that good stuff. So it's a great time to hear about your ideas and your stories. What's really inspirational for me, and then I'll stop talking because I'm already talking too much, is to hear how many of you want to go into service, giving back, making an impact on people's lives in a positive way. And that's at the core of what we do here as our program. These wonderful workshops help people to develop those skills to then go out and do that in whatever means that they feel they can do it. And we have some of our members who are former members, graduates who are on strike, right? Nurses who are looking for equality And we have folks who go into education. We have folks that go into politics. We have folks that go into public service. We have folks that go into non-government relations, people who develop not-for-profit organizations and things like that. So you're all on that path, and it's really exciting to hear about those things because it makes me feel like we're doing the right thing and we're in the right place at the right time, right? And even for the folks who are doing have their own businesses and their own ideas about going into the artistic community or making improvements to people's lives by inspiration like Dale, I think that's really powerful too, because it means that we're actually thinking about other people, right? So at the core of everything that we do, it's not about us. Yeah, we have to think about us each and every day, and how do we make it through the day, and how do we, survive all of whatever we're dealing with, a pandemic or whatever crisis that we're going through at a particular moment. But when we come down to the core values of what we're doing, the fact that we're all kind of thinking about other people and how improving other people's lives is really important. Is inspirational to me to hear on a Monday morning, the first day of our workshops, to hear from you. This is what we're working on, all of us in our own individual ways. So thank you for sharing those stories with all of us this morning, because I think it's a great way to kick off this week's workshops. And Brian, again, thanks for bringing that out, for leading us on that journey. I want to touch on a couple of things, right? Just logistical things. So we're going to meet these mornings 10 to 12. And then some people, if you sign into the wrong workshop, I'll send you an email. I got a couple of those this morning. And then we meet in the afternoons from 1 to 3. The data that we're collecting, right? The reason why you logged into Zoom is so that we have your data. And we talked about prizes. So we're going to be giving out some of the books that some of the folks have written who are presenting this week. I'm going to take it from the data. We're going to do a little raffle wheel, the team and I, and then we'll announce the winners of each session. So I think we'll have 2 or 3 winners from each session. So we'll let you know who those folks are. You're probably only going to be able to win once. That's okay, but you'll have a choice of a couple of different books, and we'll get that to you as well. The other thing is I'm working on a possible MLK Day volunteer activity. If you're really interested in that, I'm going to ask, we're going to send out a document to all of you to ask you to sign up for that, because we'd have to have a solid number for the activity to know if we're able to do it. So I'll send that out to everybody, just like I sent the email last night to everybody. And if you didn't get that email, if you were able to sign up on the main draft of the form, that would be great. I know some people have been signing in to the Zoom sessions, which is great. We collect all the data so that we have it. But if we have you on the main form, it makes it a lot easier for me to communicate just by sending emails, because I'll have your emails directly right in front of me in one place. So that being said, I want to say thank you for being here. Brian, enjoy the sunrise over there. I see it's coming up finally in Hawaii, and the roosters and all that good stuff. It's great to see you. Stay healthy, stay well. And everybody, thank you for being here this morning. I really appreciate it. And I hope to see you later on and the rest of the week.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everybody. See you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Brian, I'll talk to you soon.